Hello, in this video I'll be teaching you how to optimize and organize your game. And let's start with organization. Now the first thing that literally every Roblox game should have, and I just don't really see it much, are folders. They're really important when it comes to organization. That should be very obvious. Like let's say I have like a bunch of parts. If I just take a bunch of parts, like this is only like 30 parts. I don't know how many, but as you can see, it already looks so unorganized. Now, to put things in a folder, you could just select multiple, right click, and then press group as a folder. But there is a shortcut which you should learn. If you click on a part and then hold control and then click on another one, that's how you select multiple. And then if you want to select a bunch at once, you want to click one, hold shift, and then click something else, and all of the ones in between will be highlighted. So if I go ahead and highlight every part, the shortcut, if you want to group it, that's Control G, but if you want to put it into a folder, it's Control Alt G. So if I go ahead and do that, now I could call this like the map or something, and that's already so much better. Like if I don't want all of this stuff in the Explorer, like in my face, I could just close the folder, and boom, now that looks a lot nicer with one single folder. Like that's how simple it is. Now another thing is, instead of cramming all of your code into like a script, I recommend using module scripts. To use them, go ahead and first have a script or a local script. Modules work for both the server and the client. So if I go ahead and call this the server, and then inside I will put a module, and I'll just call this, a module. If I want to call the module, let's go ahead and put it into a variable. So local module is equal, and now to get one, you want to say require and then script.module, or just wherever you put it. In here, let's go ahead and go to the module. Now the local module equals table return module. You're gonna have to need that, or it's just not gonna work. You can rename it though, like if I just capitalize this. I also have to make sure that returning it is the same word, so I'll just do that. There we go. In here, I'm gonna make a simple function, so like function module dot create part. In here, I could just say like local part is equal to instance dot new part. There we go. Now back in the server, we can just call that. So if I go down here, I can just say module dot create part. Now if you want to send over information, which usually you will, like we can put like the parent, for example, and then here we can say the part.parent is equal to your parent, like something like this. And I'm just going to capitalize this. And if I go back to the server, now I'm going to have this as a parameter. If I don't put anything in here, but then it still uses that, it's going to cause an error. If I go ahead and run, okay, I guess not. Oh, okay, since I'm sending nothing, which is nil, it's already set to nil. If you create any instance, it's going to automatically set its parent to nil. But if I were to say, like, workspace, and then I play the game, if I check the workspace, there's a part. So it does work. There we go. It's right there. And that's pretty much how you use modules, and they can come, like, really handy. Like, for my tower defense game that I'm making, I have the main server, and then inside of that, I have a module to control the enemies, and another one to control the towers. You can also use this for data. If you have any data-related stuff, I recommend putting it in replicated storage, because that's the one service that both the server and client can use. But if I go ahead and create a module script, and I call this, like, data, for example, and I'll call this the data module. There we go. In here, or actually, you want to use this table as your data. Like, I could just say, instead of all of this, you can just say return a table, and then inside of this table, put whatever you want, like enemy1, or just enemy is equal to a table. Inside of this table, I'll put like health is equal to 50, something like this. And here, in the module, I can say, instead of create part, I can say create enemy. And here, we can say the data that we're going to use. And in this case, it'd be enemy. This is the data. So here, we would say, like part, we could set an attribute, which if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a folder of information, like a table inside of the properties of something, if that makes sense. But if I go ahead and say set attribute, and let's call this, like the name, or actually no, health, because that's what we made. We could say the data dot health. So here, back in the module, I would say the data dot health. There we go. Oh, I spelled that wrong. And if I go back to the server, let's also get the data module we made. So like local replicated storage is equal to game get service replicated storage, and then the local data module is equal to replicated storage dot data. And I just realized I need to put this in a require. So require parentheses, there we go. And here we need to send the data, and again that's the enemy. So here we would say the data module dot enemy. Now if I try this out, we do have an error, which is, okay, so since we named this to create enemy, I'm gonna have to name this too. But if I go ahead and run it, there's the part, and then if I check the properties and scroll down, there we go, attributes, and then health, it says 50. So that works. Now the last thing when it comes to organization, which is very important, is having your own style. Now if you don't know what that means, I'm talking about code. Like if I go here, you might not see anything, but I can tell you some things I already do. I don't do abbreviations like some people, like instead of replicated storage, like spelling out that entire thing. Some people might just be like local rs, and it does like make your code smaller, but I just feel like once you're trying to read back on it, like if you're fixing any problems or bugs, for example, it's just gonna be too hard to read. Another thing is I like to separate some things by 2 lines instead of 1. Like from my variables to this create enemy function, I actually have 2 lines instead of 1. And a tip for when it comes to style, if you need to take any notes, you can just do dash dash, and then here you can put whatever you want. And if you want that to be for multiple lines, you can do that. And then the square brackets, you want to put 2 of those. And if you press enter, now whatever's in between this and this, like line 10 and 15, all of this will all be notes. So this is really important for if you need to remember anything. Now another really important thing is capitalization. I'm pretty sure Roblox has like 3 main types that most people use. The first one is Pascal, where for every word you have a uppercase, like local replicated storage is equal to game equals service replicated storage. I like to use this for any services or anything that you can find in the Explorer, but it's always up to preference. Now another one is camel, which you have every word besides the first one start with a capital letter. I like to use this for anything like inside of a script or anything that's like a data type. So like for example, you can say local, time left is equal to 500, like something simple like this. And then the final one is snake, where you have everything capitalized and then a undercase in between words. And this is mainly used for constants, I'm pretty sure. That's how I like to use them. So like local total time underscore time is equal to maybe something like 1,000. Now I'll just add notes to these. So this one's Pascal, this one is camel, and then this one is snake. And again, it's completely up to preference. You can choose however you want these. But that's pretty much it. Now we can move on to optimization. Now the one big thing is do not repeat code. If I go ahead and make another script, I deleted the one earlier. Like I don't really have any good examples, but let's say you have this is an example of repeating code. Now to do this, you can either use modules and just have a function there, like I've shown before, or you can have a function exclusive to the script. Now to do that, you want to say local function, and we could do something like create tween. There we go. And then I'll just put this in here, which we're going to need the object and the goal. And now, instead of repeating the code here, we could just say create tween here, and then create tween here. Now again, this is really good for making your code easier to read. I always recommend doing this, and you could even like really make your function small. And I know like the local function in the end already takes up 2 lines on its own, but again, it's just a lot better to have functions. Like you could even simplify it further, and then like tween info creator, there we go. And then here you could say, you could just paste this in, and then return, or no, we don't even have to say that. We could just say return that, and then here we can say local info is equal to tween info creator. Like, you could do something like this. Now, another thing is, it's like, for example, if you have a bunch of kill bricks and if you have like a script in every single one, that's just terrible. Like, what if you needed to update just a single script? Like maybe there was an error and you didn't notice, and now you have to update every single one. That's just problematic, and that takes a lot of time. And back when I was talking about organization, about folders, this could actually help you with that. And I could be like the kill brick folder, you know, something like this. And I'm just gonna add an S, and I don't know why I put folder in the name. I do that in the code, that's just a thing I do. And then in the server, I could loop through workspace for every single part inside of it. So for underscore instance in workspace get descendants, there we go. And then here I could just be like if instance.parent is equal to, or .name is equal to killbricks. Then, and again, this is where you could use functions, like for example local function killbrick handler, and here I can just call it with the instance. If I get that over here, you're able to check for when it's touched and then kill the player. Now, if you want to see a more full video on this, I have already made a video. If you look in the top right corner, there's going to be a link you can click on that will send you to that. And finally, the last tip I have when it comes to optimization is client rendering. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically if you put too much on the server, it's obviously going to lag. So a way you can fix this is having the server send the client data, and then you let the client actually render it. An example is for my tower defense game, I have the server just have these tiny little attachments for the enemies, and then I have the server send that to the client, and then the client will animate these models and then put the models on top of the little points. That's just a small example, and again, if you want to see a full video on how to do client rendering, there's going to be another link in the top right corner, and you can just click that. But that's pretty much it for this video. If you need any help or have any questions, you can leave a comment below, and if you want to join my Discord server, the link is in the description. Goodbye.